Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, and just a couple of announcements first. Wanted to let you know, I'm going to pull it up here on my computer. We talked a little bit about brand ambassador, things that you can do to help get involved with Wellness Form Health if you want to help us further our mission. I've been talking about this a lot in our newsletter. I've been talking about it a lot in our video clips and things of that nature. I'm just going to tell you a tiny bit about brand ambassador. I'm really excited about this program because what it's going to allow some of our biggest fans to do is to earn some really special privileges in return for promoting our business. So here are some of the special privileges. Elite access, like conference calls and things of that nature on a regular basis that with our special speakers from the conference. If you come to our conference, private meetings with the speakers, inside track, we're going to tell you when things are happening here before anybody else gets a chance to know. We're going to ask you for your advice. You'll get to participate in program and product development. Special pricing on a lot of our educational programs, and you can even earn tuition vouchers that enable you to save money on your tuition through the school. So if you want to learn more about this brand ambassador program, this is something that's used by a lot of companies very successfully to reward people who promote them and that sort of thing. I'm doing a conference call tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and all you have to do if you want to participate is send me an email, pampopper@msn.com, and I will be happy to add you to the list. We're going to record it, so if you're thinking, oh, I'm not available tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, all you have to do is go on the list, and then we'll send everybody the recording. So if you miss the live call, you might not get to ask questions, but you'll hear all the cool information, and we'll send you a written description also of what the program is all about. So I was serious. I was absolutely serious last week when I said we are getting ready to exponentially grow this thing, and I'm very, very excited about it. And I've already heard from a bunch of you, by the way. Thank you so much for writing to me and telling me you're interested in helping us move forward. The other thing I'll remind everybody about is winter semester starts next week. So all these great classes that we offer through the Institute, like the Diet and Lifestyle course, 39 continuing medical education credits for doctors, 39 CEs for nurses, nurse practitioners, dietitians, the children's health course that I'm going to teach live and through the school, plant-based nutrition and health, where we're going to talk about, yes, plant-based nutrition and health, but we're going to talk about dietary theories and how they start and how they get promoted, and we're going to look at some of the silly fads out there, like what do you really say to the people who talk about, avoiding grains and all that sort of thing, variations on plant-based diet, historical eating patterns. It's a very, very interesting course, even though it sounds like it's pretty obvious what we're going to talk about. Institutional food, Dell teaches that, our chef, and it's all about how this all works in an institutional food setting and what's going on out there and how you can interface with institutional food. Chemistry too, probably missing something, but anyway, lots of great courses, and if you want information or you want to talk to us about this, again, send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. All right, so I've got a couple topics, and the first one is just like, it just keeps going on and on. Drug companies, food companies, medical associations, institutions, they all like to use experts, and they promote these experts as being independent experts, air quotes around that, when they're not independent at all. And a recent one, and the good news is people are finding out about this stuff, Kellogg, for example. The company established what it referred to as an independent breakfast council in 2011. And what the company said is they'd hired these experts who were going to provide guidance for the company, make good decisions and all that sort of thing, and that's what they told the public. But actually, good reporters get a hold of information, and in this case, a good reporter got a hold of the contracts that the individuals signed and the emails that were exchanged between the company and these experts, and the relationship was anything but independent. Each expert was paid an average of $13,000 a year for her advice. The contracts the individuals signed prohibited them from taking a stance against cereal or being affiliated with a company or organization that might say anything nasty about cereal, and required them to do what was called nutrition influencer outreach on behalf of Kellogg. The Breakfast Council took its marching orders quite seriously. The group got together and offered a continuing education course for dietitians. Isn't that interesting? A bunch of people hired by Kellogg do continuing education programs for dietitians. They published an academic paper on breakfast that defined a quality breakfast, and this will shock you. The quality breakfast, one of the options was, you guessed it, cereal. The paper was advertised as being written by, quote, our independent nutritionists, end of quote. And Kellogg employees felt free to edit the paper. One of the things that they took issue with was the limit of 25% of calories, daily calories coming from sugar. Apparently, the Kellogg employees thought that that was just a bit too restrictive. In spite of the company's influence in the construction of this paper, it was published in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And then the council used that paper, because it was published in what's supposedly a good journal, and go to the USDA and try to influence the dietary guidelines. And isn't this a cesspool that goes on all the time? Kellogg provided council members with research, along with talking points for how to share the information, and even provided specific tweets that the advisors were supposed to use. Dietitians twittered about how much they were enjoying their Kellogg products with milk and used the exact language provided by the company. And Kellogg even provided language for the various dietitians and nutritionists to use in response to people who might question the arrangement between the two. Kellogg disbanded the council last year in 2016 without comment, but it might be that the real terms of the agreement being made public was embarrassing, so they decided they really couldn't continue the arrangement anymore. Well, it's unfortunate, but conflicted arrangements like this are not the exception, they're the rule. And it's true with both food companies, drug companies, almost anybody who makes anything. Companies pay experts to do their bidding. There's no shortage of experts willing to take the money and do what they're told, and the journals allow garbage like the article that Kellogg helped contribute to be published, and that gives more credence to the experts and their opinions. The good news is that these things are being made public. Like the Kellogg arrangement was made public while it was going on, and it may have sped up its demise. I don't know that for sure, but contrary to that, the way things used to work, the scandalous arrangement between what the organization was that preceded the Sugar Association and some Harvard academics, that didn't come to light. These academics were literally paid $50,000 to skew research findings in favor of sugar as it pertained to heart disease. That didn't come out till over 5 or 6 decades after the fact, which, by then the influence was already bought and paid for and all that sort of thing. So I think it's great that this type of thing is being disclosed while it's happening, and that's a good thing. Shining a light on some of this crud may make it go away. The problem is there's too much money in misbehaving these days. And so I don't think we're ever going to get companies like Kellogg and industries like the ag groups like the dairy industry. They're never going to clean this stuff up on their own, and we're never going to stop people from being enticed by the money that they're offered, and in order to get involved with these groups and these companies. So I think the only thing to do is we'll just keep embarrassing them and hope that that makes it go away. All right, second topic for today has to do with personalized diets, because everybody likes to think that they're so special. All right, so let me just start by saying David Katz, medical doctor. By the way, I've heard Katz speak at conferences, and I don't always like everything that he says, but I think of all the people that talk about this on a regular basis, he has a pretty common sense approach to a lot of things. I think there's a lot to be learned from listening to him. So he recently was quoted in an article as saying, lifestyle is the most potent medicine we have. I think he's right about that. He's a fan of personalization and tailored messages when it comes to diet and lifestyle advice, saying when you think about diet and exercise, they're the saying that the best exercise is the one that you'll actually do, and it's the same for diet. He says that research on behavior change shows that customization can be a major factor in helping people make change. And he is associated, by the way, I did a little checking online, he's associated with some businesses that promote personalized approaches to dietary change and health. But to his credit, he warns that there is a major caveat where this is concerned. I think the problem is that he gets quoted out of context, because this part that I'm going to tell you never appears in the articles where he's talking about personalized health. He says, humans are a species, and creatures of the same species eat the same food. The principle is observed, he says, by zookeepers all over the world who feed the elephants something different than they feed the fish, and they feed the fish something different than they feed the zebras. He notes that while there may be metabolic and genetic diversity among lions or monkeys, these are minor differences. They don't change the fact that they eat common diets for their species. And Katz says humans are no different. Humans are adaptive, according to Katz, and they do have some biologic distinctions, but these distinctions are of degree, not kind, and that's a very important distinction. Humans are a species, and the dietary pattern we eat is common to all of us. He says there's massively convergent evidence, I'm quoting here, from diverse populations around the globe, and it simply isn't negotiable. Katz comments on the hype, and there's always hype associated with anything concerning diet these days, but he comments on nutrigenomics, which involves developing diets in response to specific genes, saying that while it's intriguing, at this point in time we have a whole lot more questions than we have answers. He thinks that maybe at some point in time in the future there might be some opportunity to recommend particular diets for particular people. At this point in time, he says, it's just a thin layer of what he calls metaphorical icing. The well-baked cake of food, good for Homo sapiens, is and will remain common to us all. So he doesn't really feel that even in the event that these changes would someday, or this technology or whatever we would call it, would someday be available, wouldn't change the underlying dietary pattern that humans are supposed to eat. He goes on to say, vegetables and fruits are good for us, Coca-Cola is not, so it is, and so it shall be. Katz thinks that people are interested in customization not because science supports it, but rather because of a combination of fad, there's always fad where diet is concerned, arrogance, we all like to think we're special, and opportunism. To suggest that humans are a departure from the rules that govern all creatures, I mean, we're exceptional in some ways, but not really in other ways, that diets would be specific to individuals instead of species, he says it represents incredible arrogance. And of course, unscrupulous promoters seize the opportunity to market all kinds of programs and ridiculousness to people who really do want to think that there's something special about them, which means that they're supposed to eat French fries and cheese and not vegetables and fruits. The bottom line, there is a right diet for humans, just like there is a right diet for all species on the planet. And while we all may be special in some very interesting ways, I know I like to think I'm special in some ways too. When it comes to diet, not so much. I need to eat the same plant-based diet that humans on the planet have lived on for a very, very long time and are still thriving on today. All right, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.